Yes, sir. Okay. Tomorrow more about what actually it's our first quiz, so it's going to be over everything we talked about through today. All right, so PEMDAS. What does that P stand for? Parentheses, absolutely. But there's some other stuff I want you to write here under the parentheses. We use P for parentheses, but sometimes other people teach a G, and the G stands for grouping symbols. And because parentheses aren't the only thing that we know that group stuff together, we have brackets as well, absolute value bars, square roots. So one thing I want you to add here in parentheses, I want you to add it, and other grouping symbols. And we're just going to list a few of those, like brackets, a square root, absolute value bars. Okay, all of those act as grouping symbols, and if you had a problem with those in there, you'd start there first, just like you would for parentheses. And notice there's a little squiggly bar under parentheses that groups it all by itself together. Okay, you do all the parentheses till there's no more to do before you go to the E. And what does E stand for? Exponents. And I got nothing additional to add here. We all know what that means. Exponents. And there's a little squiggly bar under E to let you know that E belongs all to itself. Okay, you're going to do all the exponents before moving on to the next thing. The next thing is M and D together. See how they're grouped together? The next squiggly bar is under the D. So you do all multiplication and division at the same time, but what's the money thing I told you a little while ago? Left to right. So real big here, somewhere right, left to right. And then same thing for this last part. The A and the S are together because you do all the addition and subtraction at the same time from left to right. And then we have 3 little baby examples. And as I work through them, I'll tell you the common mistakes that you have to watch out for. On that first one, here's one of the most common mistakes, okay? There's a 6 outside the parentheses. There are 2 things inside. What property did we learn yesterday that this looks like? Distributive, okay? But why am I not going to do that? The exponents and parentheses first. Distributive property means it's 6 what? What operation is really right there? Times. When do we do multiplication? Later, right? So we want to do the parentheses first. So simplifying just the parentheses, what's inside there then? 2, right? So everything else I'm just going to bring down. My 6, 2 is in the parentheses now, and then the 3 outside. Am I ready for the multiplication? What's next? Exponent. 2 cubed. What does that mean? It's 8 because it's 2 times 2 times 2. What's the most common mistake I'm going to get from students right there? 2 times 3, right? 2 times 3 is bad. So we went 2 times 2 times 2. So that's 8. And then 6 times 8, 48. On this next problem, where do you think is the trickiest part of this problem? Absolutely. The -3 that's being squared. The reason why there's parentheses around this -3 is to tell you that the negative is part of the squared. And tomorrow, when we start doing some more trickier things, we will talk about how it's different without the parentheses around the negative, okay? It works different. But for today, we're just going to follow our basic order of operations. So parentheses, there is a set of parentheses, but why do I not really have to do anything there? There's no operation inside, exactly. So it's just still -3. So what comes next? How many do you see? All right, so we're going to do those first. So I've got 2 squared is, okay, I'm not doing this stuff in the middle. I'm going to do -3 squared. What do you think that is? +9, because the negative is included. So this means -3 times itself. Negative times negative is positive, so that's +9. And then the rest of the stuff I'm just going to bring down like it is written. How come you're not going to do 4 minus 2 right now? You got to do multiplication first. Okay, what are we multiplying then? In the middle, the 2 times 2. Yeah, you can either bring down the negative and just write 4, or think about it as -2 times 2, -4, and then bring down your 4 and your 9. So everything left is addition or subtraction, right? Which way am I doing that?
Addition first, right?
Nope. Left to right. Okay. In this particular case, that would give you the same answer. What property yesterday did we have that said you can add in any order? No?
Oh, no.
Order doesn't matter. The way I get to work, commutative, okay? But what we're going to do it is in left to right, because we want to do the same way every time. So in a more complicated problem, we don't get tripped up.
Oh, wait. So after the multiplication and division, we do left to right?
Yeah, if there was more than one multiplication or division, we would have done those left to right as we saw them. And then when we get to the last step with adding and subtracting, we're going to go left to right. Once you really get, and I hate to say this out loud because I don't want to confuse you, but it is true. That very last step, if all you have left is add or subtract, it doesn't really matter the order. That's commutative property. But it's good practice to just always tell yourself left to right. When you have the multiplication and division step, if there's multiplies, divide, add, and subtract, you will get different answers if you don't go left to right here. So just always tell yourself left to right. And that way you'll be safe. Okay. What am I trying to challenge you with on this one? What's everywhere? Parentheses and negatives, right? Subtractions. So we want to do parentheses first. Tell me again why I'm not doing distributive property here right now. Because that's a multiplication. And we don't do multiplication yet. We're not at the M yet. We're still at P. We're at the parentheses. So we're going to take care of those first. So I'll bring this -2 down. Simplify inside. What is 1 minus 3? -2. I think you skipped ahead a step. So -2. I'm going to bring down this minus that's in the middle. And then do these parentheses. What's -5 minus 6? Okay. So now we got still a little bit of crazy stuff going on because we got these negatives everywhere. Do I have any exponents? Do I have any multiplies? What do I have? Where's that? Okay. -2 times -2 is 4, +4. And then I have minus a -11. This is just addition and subtraction left. So this is the last step. And what does minus a negative make? Plus plus, which makes this answer 15. Okay. So I have a worksheet for you to do. This is due before you leave. It is a self-check, so a few things to remind you about self-checks.